James MacMillan here, and it's just a few days now to the opening of the Cumnock Tryst 2025. It's our 11th festival, and here I am in Cumnock, and I thought I'd take you a little tour of some of the places that were very important to me when I was younger. I'm presently standing outside the Bank Avenue Centre, and at one point many years ago this was my primary school. So this was back in the 60s and 70s St John's Primary School, and I was a pupil here. In fact, that classroom there was my primary 1 or 2. So I was in there along with 30 other infants. Our teacher in primary 1 was Sister Clarissa, and Sister Clarissa had taught my mum and dad in a previous generation, so that means she was teaching here in the 1930s and 40s. I ended up here in the 1960s, and around the corner here, this was our playground. This is where the boys played or at least that was the boys' playground. This is the girls' playground. We're kept separate back then. And this was the boys' playground. We played football here. One of the goals was over there. We used to break those windows by accident, I hasten to add, with the ball, much to the annoyance of our teachers. And most of our teachers back then were nuns of the Order of the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary. A lot of them were Irish. I'm actually still in touch with one of them, my primary 6 and 7 teacher, Sister Austin, who's now in her 80s and living back in Ireland. And in fact, back then, in the 60s and 70s, I actually stayed in this street. And my mum and dad had a house over there, I'm just looking at it now, which is 15 Bank Avenue, and which meant that I was able to sleep long in the morning and get out of my bed about 5 to 9, and I'd still be here in time for school. And we used to line up here just at the front before we proceeded to go into the school, say our prayers, and get on with the school day. It's very nostalgic being back here. The local group, the Cumnock, it's camps at the Cumnock Amateur Musical Production Society, as was, rehearse here, and they use it as their base, and it's very interesting going back in and seeing rooms that they use for musical purposes. And I remember them as primary 6, primary 5, the headmistress's study. Sister Gerarda was our head teacher, and it's a wonderful but strange feeling being back in Bank Avenue and back at my old stomping ground, St John's Primary, now the Bar Hill Centre. One of the nice things about the Tryst here in Cumnock is that our venues are beautiful. They're small venues, some of them are churches, some are the local town halls and schools and so on. But one of our most favourite venues is this one here, and I'm just going to give you a bit of a tour around the outside. First of all, I want to show you this. We've got one of our banners up, the Cumnock Tryst banner, just outside St John's Church on Glaznock Street. And this is a very special place for me. It was actually the church in which I was baptised way back in 1959. In fact, my mum and dad were married here in 1958, and I believe my grandparents were even married here too, way back in the late 1920s, 30s. So this is it. This is St John's. It was built by the 3rd Marquess of Bute in the 1880s. It's a Romanesque building. One of the most striking venues in Cumnock. It was famous back in the day because it was the very first church in Scotland that got electric lighting. And as you see, Sunday Mass here is at 11 o'clock. In fact, this year our festival service is here. We're unusual among the small Scottish festivals in that we have a festival service every year. We move it around the different denominations and different parishes in the town, and it comes to the Catholic Church here every so often. And it's St John's turn this time. The Academy of Sacred Music are going to be performing or singing the Mass on the Sunday morning of the Cumnock Tryst. And we also have a concert here on the Sunday night. The wonderful young choristers of St Sarah are going to be giving a performance here on the Sunday night, the concert which closes the festival in 2025. So as I say, I was baptised here, I made my first communion here, I was confirmed here, I ended up being the church organist here as a teenager in the 1970s. So it's become over the years it became quite an important place for me, one way or another, and it's a lovely feeling to be able to bring all these concerts and events back to St John's, considering just how much it meant for not just me but my family and friends. And we have a similar relationship with the other churches in the area. Trinity is a wonderful venue, and we'll be going there soon, and we've got some of our concerts there. The Old Church in the Square is another one, and we'll be having some of our events there this year too. This is St John the Evangelist, Glasnock Street, Cumnock. This is the bust of James Kerhardy, just outside the town hall. James Kerhardy is a very important figure in Scottish history. He was the founder of the Independent Labour Party, which became the forerunner of the Labour Party in the United Kingdom. So a very important figure historically and greatly revered locally. So his bust by Benno Shotts, a great Scottish artist, stands outside the town hall, and the town hall behind the bust is another of our venues, and some of our events will be taking place here this year again at the Cumnock Tryst. In fact, our very first event, which is a sharing of choral music prepared that day by young choristers from around the whole of Ayrshire, will take place here on the Thursday afternoon. So this is an important venue for us. We were delighted that East Ayrshire Leisure are able to let us use this. It's a very useful and attractive hall for our venues. And over here, let's see, over here, in fact, next door to the town hall is the Dumfries Arms Hotel, which is a very famous and historic hotel. It is said that Sir Walter Scott stayed here on his travels in the 19th century, and nowadays the Dumfries Arms Hotel is our festival club venue, so we have lots of events here too. Most of these events are late night concerts, folk music, jazz, some local performers, very convivial with the bar and restaurant and so on. So we're delighted to be able to use the Dumfries Arms Hotel. We're great friends of the Tryst, and it's a great meeting place for many of our visitors and festival attendees. This part here, for example, is the venue that we use. It's a kind of function suite. We're seeing it from the outside. And we have a room for maybe about 200 in the audience at this too. And this is the back of the Dumfries Arms. Now this is a part of the building that is well known to me because when I was a teenager I stayed here in this house. This is the back door of our family home. We moved here in the early 1970s. We lived here until for about 10 years. So it was out of the door at 5 Ayr Road and straight into the Dumfries Arms Hotel. Very handy. Right, so we had a look at the back of Ayr Road, 5 Ayr Road, where I lived as a teenager. The name of the house was Mars Hill, and we've come to the front of the house now. So this is Mars Hill, 5 Ayr Road, where my family moved probably about 1970, and I had a very happy end of childhood here, teenage years. I remember my fascination with music continued a lot in that house. My love of Richard Wagner's music developed in that house. If you can go back 50 odd years, the place would be pounding with the music of Das Rheingold and Die Walküre. In fact, when we moved here in the 1970s, I tried to pester my mum and dad to change the name of the house to Valhalla, but they would have none of it. They just laughed at me for some reason. Anyway, moving further down the road, this is Ayr Road, to another of our venues, and this is another wonderful church. This is Trinity Church, and we host some of our exciting concerts here. As a teenager and even younger, I remember performances of The Messiah and other oratorios, Judas Maccabeus and the like in this place. So it was an easy hop over the road from 5 Ayr Road to Trinity for those performances. Going back then, I remember Cumnock being a very musical place. There was lots of music making in the area, lots of choral singing, not just in the churches, but little choral societies locally, and Gilbert and Sullivan groups, brass bands, of course, very strong in the area. It's a brass band area, still going strong with Domellington Band and so on. As I say, this is the town I became a musician, with friends and parents and relatives and teachers. This is where I made music for the first time, and I knew because of that it was the right place to bring something like the Cumnock Tryst to life. And that's what's happened these last 10 or 11 years. Fanning the embers of those musical memories back into life, re-engaging with the community, taking music of all sorts, classical music, folk music, jazz, and many other forms to the community has been a labour of love, something I've enjoyed immensely over the years, and it's with great excitement that we move now to our 11th festival next week here in Cumnock. And now I've come to the square, the central square in Cumnock. As you can see, the various shops and businesses around. The most important thing about the square is this church, though. Let's have a look at it. This is the old church. Again, a 19th century building, and also built by the Marquis of Bute. And we've got our poster at the front for our concerts. We'll have one of our concerts here during the festival. It's a marvellous venue. You can get quite a lot of people in. the parish parishioners of the old church are very helpful and supportive, as is the case with all the different parishes and denominations in Cumnock. Just over there is the other hotel in Cumnock, the Royal Hotel, where many of our staff and many of our guests stay during the festival. And this little cafe here, Words of Wisdom, is it's run by the parish here of Old Church for church charities. And quite a sweep round. Some carryouts over here in the corner, various barber shops. There's a pub, of course. Let's see, there's a pub, yes, and various nice pubs in the area. All gearing themselves up for the 11th Cumnock Tryst Festival next week.